I went from making $7 an hour stringing tennis rackets at Sports Chalet to earning over 7 figures while I was in college. But it didn't happen overnight. It happened through 3 painful but life-changing transitions. And in this video, I'm gonna break down what these 3 transitions were and show you how you can take the same steps to get anywhere you wanna be in your life. So if you're someone who's ambitious and you wanna take your life to the next level, stick around. The first transition was arguably the very hardest, but it's absolutely non-negotiable if you want to break free from where you are and start creating the life that you want to live. I didn't come from money. I was working at Sports Chalet, like I mentioned, literally stringing tennis rackets for a living to help get myself through college. And that was my reality. I had good parents, I had a strong work ethic, but I had zero financial education or direction. Everything changed the day I picked up this book right here, Think and Grow Rich from Napoleon Hill. This is actually the very copy. The person who gave it to me, that wrote in it, this will give you guidance, like as does my scriptures. And this one's kind of flashy, corny, like pink, like colors. There's different versions of it. It's an incredible book. But I started reading it, and this book rewired how I thought about success, money, and belief. And in it, there's a self-confidence formula, and I memorized that formula every single day. I repeated it until it became my default setting of my thought process. It flipped a switch in my brain and gave me a vision of what was possible for my future. But belief alone wasn't enough. I had to start acting different. And I started visualizing what I wanted, walking into rooms like I belonged there, even when everything around me told me otherwise. It was one of those things: believe it, conceive it, achieve it. Act as if principles, right? Now here's the takeaway for you. Start with what you believe about yourself. Now if your internal belief doesn't shift, your results won't either. You wanna guard your mind. You wanna get clear on what you want. Affirm yourself with achieving affirmations and fixate on what you want, not on what you don't want. It's very natural and easy to focus and fixate on what you don't want. You wanna speak it daily, then move with purpose towards it, even when the evidence isn't there yet. Okay, so that's the first transition. This book right here, Think and Grow Rich, shifting the believe it, conceive it, achieve it. This is a mindset, this is a mental shift. The second transition, make one specific shift to set yourself up to win. Now, belief is where most people stop. They believe it, and this transition feels like walking a tightrope with no safety net. Now, my car broke down on the way to San Diego to go to my first sales area. It's a 15-hour trip that should have only taken 8 hours. I was pulling over every 90 minutes to dig oil out of my spark plugs with a paper towel and literally a wire hanger, no joke, to just seep up the oil so that my car would keep running. By the time I got to the area, I was mentally, emotionally, physically spent. And I slept in my car that night because the door to my apartment that I got there at 2 in the morning, and it was locked. And so I literally slept in my car and I started selling, knocking doors the next morning. Now just fast forward 2 weeks, and just 2 weeks in, I had 0 sales. And I'll never forget, I sat on a curb with my manager, Jared Taggart, in area. And he told me, he's like, Ben, listen, sales is not for everybody. And there's no shame if this doesn't work out for you. And the hard fact is, if you don't start selling, I can't keep you on the team. I couldn't believe it. I was about to be fired from a straight commission job. And well, I quit that night. I packed up my bags, and before I left, I went on a run. It was pretty late at night, so I was gonna sleep and then go the next morning, but I went for a run on the Oceanside Pier in Southern California. Crying, bawling my eyes out, and because I was just a total failure. What am I doing with my life? I'm asking myself, and my parents told me to not take this dumb job that's not gonna pay me, and they're just telling me, they're in my ear, come home. You know, you've got your room back, you've got your job, your comfy job at Sports Chalet, stringing rackets, making $7 an hour, you just come back home. But that night something clicked, and I realized I wasn't just running away from rejection. I was running away from fear. I was running from a lie that they were rejecting me and the product that I sold. They didn't want it, nobody wanted it. But the truth was, while I was running, bawling my eyes out, nobody even knew what in the heck I was doing at their door. Nobody knew the product that I was selling. They had no idea. So they weren't rejecting me, they weren't rejecting the product, we weren't even getting that far. They didn't know who I was. For all they knew, I was there to case out their home, I was there to steal their time, which they weren't gonna give me, their money, which they didn't have or weren't gonna give me, and like, you know, again, for all they knew, I was gonna be like casing their house out to rob them in the night. And the reality was, the truth was that I was not effectively communicating with people. And I would be running from this forever. And my incapability of communicating forever. and I would be running. My fear would be, and I was just booking it, balling like I'm a failure, and it hit me that I've got to crack the communication code. That skill will benefit me for the rest of my life. Or if I don't, it'll tank me for the rest of my life in whatever I was doing, just like I'd been tanked during this summer job. Well, I unpacked my bags and I went all in to crack the code on how to communicate. And this transition changed my life. Now here's the lesson. Up to this point, I interpreted success to be a sale, and I had no sales. So I had no success. I was not successful. But that day I learned that I can't control someone to say yes, but I could become the very best communicator so that people have the best chance to understand who I am and what it is that I was doing at their doorstep. And if the decision was gonna be a good fit for them or not. And so I went on an all-out obsession to continue to learn. And I challenge you, my friend, continue to learn, grow, develop, and bet on yourself. This means walking through the fire even when the only voice that's cheering you on is your own. When doors are slamming in your face, you go stand guard at the door of your mind. As Jim Rohn taught, stand guard at the door of your mind. The legendary Jim Rohn, he's Tony Robbins' mentor, Brian Tracy's mentor, and I invite you to decide right now that you're gonna keep knocking. You're gonna burn the ships, you're gonna keep going. Commit to be all in and don't quit. Okay, transition number 3 that changed my life is you gotta stick with it until you win. Now, the last transition is what made it all click for me, and I know it can for you too. That Oceanside run was the moment that everything changed. I made a decision not to go home. I unpacked my bags and said, I'm in, no turning back, and I burned my boats. And I told my parents, I already told them I was quitting. They were so excited. I said, you know what? I'm not quitting. They're like, what in the world are you doing? You're crazy. And the following week, I made my first sale. Then I made another, then another. That momentum changed everything, changed my life. It wasn't magic. It was consistency. My goal with that summer was to make $10,000, but I ended up learning how to communicate with people and I made $25,000. And my whole entire life changed forever. Now, success didn't come from a single breakthrough. It came from showing up after the breakdown. Now, here's what I want you to know. You're not failing. You're just in the middle of your transformation. Keep showing up. Keep swinging. Eventually, it turns out if you don't quit. Keep climbing.